I'm Crystal. I have been dealing with asthma and allergies for pretty much all my life, so a lot of times they get worse at night too. So let's talk about sheets and dust. Losing sleep because of your allergies is one of the most frustrating experiences. I know because I've been there recently. I would wake up in the middle of the night coughing, sneezing, wheezing, thanks asthma. Then I'd wake up in the morning with swollen eyes, just watery, just a total mess. So I started looking around at bed sheets that would help cut down on dust mites. But first I had to figure out what actually makes sheets good for allergies in the first place. So I have a list here that I will share. Here's what I found. Weave matters. Breathability is important. Hypoallergenic natural fibers are the best. Then you have extra fun touches like silver to kill bacteria, and it's not sparkly. That can make a difference in a lot of ways. Moisture control can help keep bacteria from growing and feeding dust mites. And easy care is a must. That one's mostly for me because if it's complicated, I'll get lazy and I won't wash my sheets enough, and hey, I'm busy. So then certifications are nice. Again, it's a nice to have, but not an absolute must if the sheets check a lot of the other boxes. With a list like that in your head though, trying to track down the perfect sheets that'll fit your preferences, your bed, your budget, everything can be a chore. So I've tried to rank the features here by order of importance, but sometimes they're kind of layered, like you'll need one thing with another feature. So just keep that in mind, and overall they're just ranked from the most important to the least important. So the first one is weave. The tighter the better, which in terms of breathability it sounds like it would be the opposite, but that the looser weaves would be better because they'd more easily release the moisture and dry more quickly, but that's not actually true. The tighter weave keeps the dust mites and their waste from having a place to settle into or seep through to you or your mattress, and it's basically an uninviting physical barrier that keeps the bad stuff out. It said the fabric of your new sheets will matter too. For example, a synthetic fabric with a tighter weave is not necessarily going to be better than a natural fabric with a looser weave. So now you see why it's kind of hard to rank these in order. So sheets with a tighter weave and a moisture-wicking fabric that dries quickly can be more effective at preventing allergy flare-ups than another set of sheets with a looser weave, even though the air will pass through the looser weave more quickly, and that suggests that the sheets would dry faster. It all just kind of comes down to the fabric and the weave combined. Now, if your mind is going straight to thread count or GSM or Mame, depending on the fabric, and how that works into the whole picture, thread count does affect the density of the fabric, but it's not the whole story. It will play a role here, but it's not the whole picture. So more on that in a minute. If you are in the market for cotton sheets, for example, Percale will offer a tighter weave than sateen, and you can consider Koyuchi's refined organic Percale sheet set or Under the Canopy's organic Percale sheet set. Those are good cotton options with tight weaves. Next up, we have breathability. If you are not sweating and trapping that moisture, you're not creating a buffet for dust mites. That's why breathability matters. And again, this doesn't just boil down to how loose the weave is, the way you might think. Sheets with good breathability, which would usually be natural fibers, don't encourage the humidity that would then encourage bacterial growth and tempt the dust mites to set up shop. That'll help you fall asleep and stay asleep. Waking up damp and hot in the middle of the night is never fun, whether you're coughing, sneezing, wheezing. Any of the options I mentioned today are going to be excellent as far as breathability goes. All of them are natural fibers and have good moisture wicking capabilities. So next up we have hypoallergenic materials, and some materials are just not hospitable to dust mites or the bacteria they like to eat. That usually comes down to natural fibers, which most hypoallergenic materials are, and those also happen to be naturally static resistant overall. You might get a little bit of static, but it's nothing like you would get with synthetic materials. So why does that static even matter? From an allergy standpoint, static can hold on to things like dust mites and skin cells the dust mites would want to eat. That's where the problem comes in. You're not able to get rid of it. Look for materials that are like cotton, linen, bamboo, which is naturally antimicrobial, silk, Tencel, lyocell, and wool. Now wool is going to be rare in sheet sets, but I'm just throwing it out there in case you see any. Also, you can get duvets with wool, and wool is popular in some mattresses. So overall, it's just a pretty good material to use. Do skip the polyester and microfiber if you're worried about your allergies though, because they are worse as far as static goes and trapping moisture. I have a few options in this category, so you can go on your way and check them out. The first one is the Lily Silk 25 Mame Seamless Luxury Bedding Set. The other silk one I have is THX Silk 25 Mame Silk Fitted Sheets. If you want bamboo, there is the Quince Bamboo Sheet Set. There's also the Cozy House 100% Bamboo Bed Sheets and Eden and Om Bamboo Sheets. Those are all good options. If you like the idea of cotton in this category, you could go with the Avocado Organic Cotton Sheets, the Quince Organic Brushed Cotton Sheets, or Miracle Brand's Generation 3, which is mostly what they're shipping now. If you would like a linen option, there's Silk and Snow's Flax Linen Bed Sheets, and those will help keep you cool. On to the moisture control. Damp sheets are going to be a breeding ground for bacteria, which will invite the dust mites to pull up a seat and have a feast. Add to that any trapped skin cells you might have in there, and you've got some really happy microscopic little campers. This is an area where you can consider the thread count. If you go with a higher thread count, you're going to end up with a warmer set of sheets that might trap heat and moisture. This isn't exactly the same as tighter versus looser weave. With thread count, the number of threads is just higher per square inch, which will make a denser fabric. A denser's not always bad as long as you know how and when to use it. However, weave is different. That has to do with how the threads are actually woven together, their pattern, which can affect their cooling properties. It can affect how the sheets feel against your skin as well. For example, like I mentioned earlier, the percale versus sateen, they're not types of thread or types of cotton. They're actually weaves that affect how the cotton feels once it's all woven together, creating your bedding and sitting against your skin while you sleep. Generally, the ideal thread count, which matters less than you might think depending on the materials and the quality and the different weaves and everything, the ideal would be around 500 to 600 for most materials. However, that 500 to 600 is for the general population. If you are worried about your allergies and moisture control, you're going to probably want to look for something that's around 300 to 400 as far as thread count goes. Slightly lower, around 250, is acceptable for bamboo sheets. Most of the cotton options listed here have around 300 thread counts. There is a point where you can go too low though. Don't go under 200 for quality's sake. In most cases, linen is the exception, with quality linen sheets that are good for allergies in slightly lower thread counts than that. You might actually see linen listed as a GSM, which is grams per square meter instead of thread count. In that case, look for about 150 to 200 GSM. Similarly, if you are looking at silk sheets, you might see something called mame instead of a thread count. And a mame of 25 is really ideal if you're looking for something to help with your allergies, but you can go as low as 19 and still get benefits. And then we have the additional antimicrobial properties. In some cases, your sheets can be treated or woven with natural deterrents for bacteria and therefore dust mites. And silver is a common one because it will release ions that kill the bacteria, keep them from reproducing, spreading, and attracting the dust mites that then bother your allergies. Less bacteria, fewer dust mites. And then in some cases, you might see bamboo charcoal or essential oils. Those are less common. I don't know that I've seen too many bamboo charcoal things, but the essential oils are kind of hit or miss with people with allergies anyway, so I'd probably steer clear and go for the silver infused sheets instead. And that's one of the most effective ways to fight the bacteria, and it doesn't wash out. I would recommend looking into the Miracle brand sheets if you are looking for a silver infused option that can help keep the bacteria from ever growing in the first place. Another one you could try is Rust Evercool. And now we have ease of care. I put this toward the end of the list because not everybody's going to care as much as I do about how easy the sheets are to clean, but you're more likely to wash your sheets frequently if it's easy, right? The frequent washing will keep your bacteria and dust mites at bay and regularly remove allergens, anything that would attract dust mites in the first place. So ease of care is really important. In some cases, you won't even have to wash your sheets as often as they recommend, which is once a week. That you can do it if you want to, but if you go with something like silver infused sheets, those will stay clean about 3 times longer, so you can go longer without washing your sheets and still have the same amount of bacteria to deal with as you would a week with another type of sheets. So you might be able to do less work and still not have allergy issues. If your sheets aren't especially finicky about care, you will be able to choose the detergent that you think works best for your skin and your allergies. And having leeway is nice. Some of the sheets might say you have to use the gentlest, fragrance-free, dye-free, everything-free, and that generally is the best for allergy sufferers, but it's nice to have options and not feel like you're locked into one specific detergent. Another option, or another thing to consider, is temperature. When it comes to temperature, be sure to check the care instructions before you make a purchase, especially if you always really want to wash your sheets on hot or at least warm. Some of the sheets out there that are good for allergy sufferers are supposed to be washed gentle cycle, cold water, maybe tumble dried low. Some say it's ideal to air dry them, which I would never do, but that's up to you. Just be sure to check how you're supposed to take care of your sheets before you commit. For example, bamboo sheets shouldn't be washed in hot water. They usually need to be washed in cold water, gentle cycle, gentle detergent, and then air dried or dried in the dryer on very low. Just be sure to check the care instructions before you make a commitment to those. But they do have a lot of positives, so I don't want to completely eliminate those from the list. Just be aware of the extra care that they require. They have natural antimicrobial properties, so I mean, is that important, or do you want to go with something like silver and have easier to care for sheets? I personally need to be able to do my laundry on autopilot because I'll start it first thing in the morning when I'm half asleep and then switch things out through the course of the day in between other tasks. If my sheets require extra thought, I don't want them. And last on the list, we have certifications. Now, these are nice to see and can tell you a lot about the sheets at a glance, but they're not really a must-have if the sheets you're looking at check a lot of the other boxes and suggest that they will be good for dust mite allergies. The first certification you can look for is the asthma and allergy friendly certification. What this means is they have been vetted by asthma and allergy specialists and deemed to be good for people who suffer with allergies and asthma. Some of their picks they have on their site are the Cijo Airy Weight Eucalyptus, the Wicked Sheets Moisture Wicking Sets, and Eternity Lux. Then we have the OECO-Tex Standard 100. With the OECO-Tex certification, what that tells you is the materials are at least 70% organic, they are processed without toxic chemicals or heavy metals, and they are created under ethical work conditions. And the last certification I have here is the GOTS, which is Global Organic Textile Standard. You might see it with Standard 100 behind that. What that means is the sheets don't have harmful levels of pesticides, heavy metals, or anything like that that could aggravate your allergies. And every material used in those sheets from start to finish will have been tested for over 1,000 harmful substances. And now the final question: how do you choose the best allergy-friendly sheets for you if you have a dust mite allergy you're trying to deal with? One person's favorite set will be somebody else's least favorite. The most crowd-pleasing, though, is probably going to be a tightly woven cotton. That's for ease of care. They're moisture wicking, they're breathable, and then there are the additional features like the silver that I mentioned earlier that typically show up in cotton sheets. If you want something especially light and airy, you'll probably want to go with a linen or bamboo option, and the trade-off there is just going to be you'll have to pay extra attention on laundry day. So you're basically looking for a natural fabric with a tight weave that'll keep those dust mites out and away from your skin, and it'll act as a barrier. Ideally, you'll get some extra bacteria fighting properties like that silver I mentioned earlier, and you might even get some certifications that ensure that the fabric that you're under doesn't have nasty, harmful chemicals trapped inside of it. And that about sums it up. I hope that was helpful. I hope you find some of your most perfect sheets and your allergies disappear. And that is it. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and have an awesome day.